afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you may be been following the whole Windsor Framework and Northern Ireland Protocol, but today we're going to go through a presentation, an infographic, and also an onboarding document to help you prepare. So without further ado. So today, as I stated, we're going to be talking about the Windsor Framework. That's for GB shipments from GB mainland into Northern Ireland. That's currently a UPS domestic service. So today we're going to go through this presentation and at a glance just explain a little bit about the difference between a red and green lane. Talk through the infographic that will open up as a separate document. Talk about the importance of the UK Internal Market Scheme, UKIM's approval number from HMRC, and that's for Northern Ireland importers or for GB shippers who will act as the importer of record in Northern Ireland. The new arrangements for parcel movements and the difference between B2B and B2C and what that means. Some of the action steps for Northern Ireland importers or GB shippers to take so they can be ready for what is only less than a week away. We're going to talk about the onboarding document and the information in it and what to complete so we can hold your standing data on file to handle and process your shipments to Northern Ireland. A little bit of an update from Defra Diera about products of animal origin and agri products for border control post, which won't affect too many customers, but it might be specific for some, and some of the next steps and timelines. So I hope you'll find today's webinar informative. And really, shipments to Northern Ireland will be treated by UPS very much like an international destination because we have to complete customs clearance and various system requirements from HMRC and other government agencies. So there's two processes, red lane and green lane. So green lane are all shipments from UK mainland destined and to remain and be consumed in Northern Ireland. And for that, it says they're trusted trader scheme. That's been updated to UKIM's internal market scheme from HMRC, and traders can log on and get approved for that. That means any business-to-business shipments won't have to have any customs duty paid on those goods. And the other red lane is goods that are destined for the EU. Well, UPS is approved, as a lot of the parcel companies are, for the UK carrier scheme. So we have certain compliance and obligations to complete. UPS only picks up and sends parcels on trucks or flights into Northern Ireland that are a BT postal code and will be delivered in Northern Ireland. So all our trucks and everything we send to Northern Ireland will be green lane. However, there might be any individual single parcels or shipments that we might have to clear as red lane and do a full customs declaration and maybe pay duty on those goods under different circumstances. So that gives you a bit of an overview of the difference between red and green lane. But if we've got anything for another country or for Ireland specifically, it would go Holyhead into Dublin. We don't route volume into the EU via Northern Ireland, only for delivery in Northern Ireland. So all, as I say, all our shipments are green lane. Something that you need to apply for, hopefully most people have applied already. It can take 7 to 10 days for a UKIM's approval number. And there's certain criteria and certain steps you have to do to get approved. First one, for Northern Ireland importers, you must be established and have a permanent business establishment in Northern Ireland. And that's probably with an XI prefixed VAT number, an XI prefixed EORI number. However, A lot of GB shippers are going to deliver to businesses in Northern Ireland and want it to be seamless to that business, so may well act as the importer of record as a GB shipper. And we'll talk about how you can do that and what you need to put into our shipping systems. One of the questions HMRC will ask you when you go through for a UKIMS approval number is who is your indirect customs representative in Northern Ireland. So we say such as a parcel carrier, well, it's UPS. As you can see listed there, there's a few other things that customs will ask you about your supply chain, where your goods are being sold to, where they'll be consumed, where they will end up. And obviously, if you cannot prove that or confirm that, then it may well be that you might not get approved for UKIM scheme. But there are other reasons how you can avoid paying customs duty. So no UKIMS approval number for a business to business. Chances are, depending on the circumstances, you might have to pay customs duty on those goods. And then there is an HMRC reimbursement scheme where you have to have documentary evidence of where those goods were consumed or delivered or ended up. And then HMRC would refund the customs duty paid on that UPS have obviously paid on your behalf. So UKIM scheme, really important to avoid paying customs duty. They will check out and ask you various questions about your supply chain. And there's a few other requirements on there about compliance or non-compliance and any issues regarding tax or customs. But as I say, there's a link there for the UKIMS page on gov.uk where you can read up some more detailed information on the guidance for that. So at the moment, we've been talking about business to business shipments. So that's shipments that are addressed from you in GB mainland to a business entity in Northern Ireland. So that's pretty much every organisation other than a private consumer. So guidance for B2B shipments for GB shippers or Northern Ireland importers. There are other ways that you can avoid having to pay customs duty on those goods being sent to Northern Ireland if you don't have a UKIMS number. If you do have a UKIMS number, we encourage you to fill out the onboarding document we'll talk through so that we have that information on file. So when our flights and trucks arrive in Northern Ireland, we can use your UKIMS number on the customs declarations we have to submit to avoid duty. However, if you don't have a UKIMS number, you can submit a request to HMRC and claim a waiver under state aid rules, and they will give you an authorisation or an undertaking number. And again, if you have that, please fill that in on the onboarding document as we have to submit that on the customs declarations. Also, please note that we can claim duty preference for GB goods because GB goods are de facto moving into the EU single market. So really important, we would need the declaration statement to say we hereby declare these goods are GB origin and claiming duty preference so that we can apply those and not have to pay customs duty. It may be some of the last three items listed there that they're return goods. If so, they'll be duty and VAT free. If they're books or certain tariffs or commodity codes, it might be that they're duty free in the UK tariff. Then obviously we would apply the correct tariff if you supply that information on your invoices or shipping data and won't pay duty. If you happen to have a customs bonded warehouse or the goods are going to a bonded warehouse, again, at the border, no duty or any charges to pay. And if you have any other special customs procedures, such as temporary admission, inward processing, outward processing, end use, I think temporary admission and others will mean that there's no charges to pay. And if that's the case, please let us know those clearance instructions so we can apply those to your shipments. Right, so UPS system changes and some customer requirements. So for GB mainland to Northern Ireland shipments will be handled in the same way as a worldwide destination. So if you're shipping to the EU, rest of the world, systems as from, it will be around about 5 a.m. on the 1st of May. Our shipping systems will have some additional features or triggers or some additional fields that you can complete. And it will be like shipping to a worldwide destination where our shipping systems will ask for a commercial invoice. Or if you're already existing customer, you can speak to our sales execs or customer solutions that you can be set up for UPS paperless. That's not going to happen tomorrow. Or if you're already set up for paperless, then you can provide your data that way and not provide bits of paper, which is always the way to go. So UPS have to ensure we are customs compliant, following the rules of customs, border force, etc. And we want to ensure that we can clear B2B and B2C shipments without any delays. As I always say to people, we're a delivery company, not a warehouse storage company. So the more information you can provide in the shipping data or on the commercial invoices, or give us the information on the onboarding document so we can keep the information on file. Reason for that is our flight on a Monday arrives at 4:30 in the morning in Belfast, 5:30 the rest of the week, and then trucks arriving around about 6-7 o'clock in the PM, ready for sortation and delivery in Belfast next day. And of course, everything moves out of hours. So the more information that we have on file, the less we will have to phone you and ask you, and the more that we can concentrate on delivering your parcels on time. So for UPS, it's full international data requirements. So as I say, mirrors the same if you're shipping to the EU or a third country. Internally for UPS, it's full international data capture system, or IDC key entry is required. So that's values, currency, commodity code, item level, invoice line data will be required. For some ad hoc customers that don't provide us with a commodity code in their data or on the commercial invoice, we do have a machine learning tool called Happy that will look up the description of goods and provide us with a commodity code. But we do encourage as many people as possible to always provide UPS with a commodity code so that we can do accurate customs clearance and, if necessary, pay the correct amount of customs charges. As I said, commercial invoices or UPS paperless or upload my forms is acceptable. For paper copy invoices, if you're just to use your domestic shipper, 3 copies, that's 2 to the driver, 1 for sort of filing and 1 for imaging into our system, and 1 parcel to get, 1 invoice to go on the box on the parcel. We have struggled with government department DEFRA, who haven't yet, still at this late stage, issued official guidance that we can share with shippers and customers that might be shipping meat and dairy products that are high risk, agri products, those type of products that need either border inspection post or have to have a traces pre-notification. So if you've got those type of goods, please make sure you provide the correct export health certificate, phytosanitary certificate, and a clear description of those type of goods so that we can clear them correctly with DEFRA and customs. Talked about two different flows. So we do have separate flows of data for customs clearance based on your business model. So for B2C shipments, as well as C2C and C2B, the goods default to goods not at risk, meaning not at risk of being delivered or moved into the European Union, avoiding customs duties. And obviously, if it's delivered to a consumer in a BT postal code, it meets that criteria of not at risk. So same requirement as B2B, full international data and invoices are still required. And it says all customer routes. So whether you're using ups.com internet shipping, you're using WorldShip, ConnectShip, various other automated tools via XML or API, or attaching a PDF copy to our shipping system, whether it's B2B or B2C. If it's a parcel with goods in it, we need a commercial invoice for UPS shipping systems or automation. Why is that for B2C shipments? Even though we don't have to raise an individual customs declaration, we still have to pre-submit and lodge to customs through the SDES service an electronic bulk manifest, and we have to have itemised description of goods and a minimum of a 6-digit commodity code for every single parcel. So even though it's B2C, not at risk, no customs charges, we still require that information from an invoice to process the shipments on time. It's just the usual freight charges door to door to Belfast. For B2B shipments, subtly different. Full international data and invoices as before. That's required for us to complete individual customs declarations in the CDS system on arrival in Northern Ireland. And we require information for the customs declaration. So already mentioned about the UKIMS number, your XIEORI number if you're based in Northern Ireland, and VAT number or deferment if applicable. If you're the GB shipper, that'll be a GB EORI, a GB VAT number, maybe a GB deferment if you have one. But if you have a UKIMS number and it will be applied to all your shipments, then a deferment number isn't required because we're not going to pay any customs charges. So we require all that data, hopefully in advance so we can hold it on file, or if it differs, then you need to provide different data at shipment level in the shipping data. So some shipments might be UKIMS, some shipments might be at risk, some might be not at risk. You might send some B2B shipments, B2C shipments. So take care when uploading, keying, or sending data to UPS that it's very clear to us what type of shipments you're sending so that we can clear it correctly. I'm sure across the whole industry, and maybe HMRC or Border Force, there may be some teething problems, and from our customers. However, HMRC are taking a pragmatic approach. We've seen that where we've been speaking to them about some system issues, and they want to get the Windsor Framework over the line, done and sorted. And we've had calls with the actual local Border Force based in Belfast, who will be taking a pragmatic approach to keep our flights and trucks moving on time without intervention. And certainly during the early days or weeks, not pulling and picking goods for security checks and examinations. Not saying that won't happen, but they are trying to be as pragmatic as possible to get everybody over the line. Talked about changes to our shipping systems, and I should have put a few screenshots that I had end of last week that already from last year in March, you can choose already in our shipping systems, but it's not mandatory. So if you're using manually keying into our shipping systems, Also in our technical spec, you can choose I am a business to the receiver is a business or a consumer. It will download through into our brokerage systems to set the B2C and B2B flags. So I encourage as many customers using our shipping systems. It's not a mandatory field, but we're saying it is required. If not, we've got to look at every single shipment and set that criteria ourselves, whether it's B2B or B2C. And then further down on here, it shows UK importer tax ID, but we'll have destination EORI number, UKIMS number, deferment number, and also whether the goods are at risk or not. So it can be the goods are at risk, the goods are not at risk, or you don't know, because we do realise that quite a lot of shippers at the point of shipping to a consumer or customer in Northern Ireland won't know that at the point of shipping. It'll be down to the destination business. Just to get the information out there, you might have seen this shared from marketing, from our sales execs, forwarded it to your inbox or discussed during business meetings. And this was just to get the message out regarding the changes coming in. And we encourage you to share them far and wide in your organisation. Make sure your hierarchy and management team are aware. Make sure people in your warehouse or who handle UPS drivers that Northern Ireland is now like an international destination. Put it on your notice board, share it in business meetings, etc. So, as I already mentioned, please provide item level clear goods descriptions and values and commodity codes. We quite often have very vague descriptions of goods. Some things that customs always create suspicion. If something is described as parts, goods, samples, apparel, and the same with UPS, what is somebody trying to hide? Or quite often we get just the part numbers or internal descriptions that sometimes don't mean anything to outside your organisation. So it's what are the goods, what are they made of, what are they used for, in clear layman's terms description. For those that haven't already applied for a UKIMS, there's a link there directly to the UKIMS HMRC authorisation. While I was talking about duty, PVA VAT can apply into Northern Ireland, but generally speaking, at the border, there'll be no VAT on the customs declarations, only potential duty. VAT will be UK supply VAT, and you'll probably charge the customer VAT at the point of sale, and it won't be paid at the border. But you might want to touch base with anybody in your organisation that is a VAT tax expert, or somebody outside your organisation that advises you on VAT or tax matters, if you wish to, regarding Northern Ireland, because it's, again, a little bit unique, like Northern Ireland is now with most things. I usually say to customers, it's not a domestic service anymore. It's not intra-EU as it used to be when we were a member state, and it's not international. It's a mush-up of all of those. And Northern Ireland is in the UK Customs Union, but follows single market rules. And quite often you can't always second guess whether they're following or HMRC have decided we have to follow EU rules or UK rules or something different for Northern Ireland. So yes, Northern Ireland is now very unique. Really important, inform us in advance with the onboarding document, or in the shipping data to tell us if your goods are at risk or not, just so that we have the information on file and don't have to phone you. That's just a summary of where we talked about red lane and green lane goods. All UPS trucks into Northern Ireland only go to Northern Ireland with delivery in Northern Ireland. So we don't travel onwards into the European Union via Ireland. A link there for HMRC regarding considered as not at risk, if you need to read up the technical detail on that. And then just a summary of what is required by UPS shipping systems after or from the 1st of May onwards. Need a commercial invoice, whether that's automated or paper. A minimum of 6-digit commodity code will be very helpful for to avoid us having to look up every single shipment and the commodity code ourselves. Clear itemised description of goods, etc., etc. So the only slight difference is for B2B, there's a few more additional information we require. EORI number, UKIMS number if you have it, duty deferment number if required, and you do have one, which can be a GB EORI, a GB duty deferment number for the GB shipper if you're going to act as the importer of record. If it's the Northern Ireland importer, it'll be an XI EORI, a UKIMS number, and possibly an XI duty deferment number prefix. For B2C shipments, the EU have insisted on some weight limitations for shipments. Generally speaking, UPS only accept parcels up to 31.5 kilos. Luckily, they've set the limit at 31.5 kilos. So if it's a single parcel or a multiple parcels in a shipment, that each parcel must weigh less than 31.5 kilos. So if you have one package at 10 kilos in a two-piece consignment and the other one's 35, no, we can't accept that. We would have to move that into the B2B category. So think about each parcel and packaging and how they're sent, that where you can keep B2C shipments below 31.5 kilos or split the weights or multiples to be under that limit. HMRC will allow single items, so that's one single invoice line item, up to 100 kilos will be considered. But if there's more than one item and it's 98 kilos and it's got two items in the parcel, no, it doesn't meet the criteria. So just be aware of those weight limitations. If you haven't already sent it to us for UPS as a regular customer, this onboarding document, one-page document to gather all the information we need to keep on file, 3 separate tabs. Each tab is the different criteria. So GB to Northern Ireland, business to business, this tab. Second tab, GB to Northern Ireland, business to business, where the GB shipper is acting as the importer of record. And then just information to tell us you're only shipping B2C goods, and we'll talk about that. So document who it's from and date. If you are Northern Ireland importer, if you could just put your name and address here. Your UPS account number here. We expect that will have a BT postal code because you're based in Northern Ireland. And with that, if we haven't already got it on file, your XI EORI number, your XI VAT number, and maybe your XI duty deferment number. If you have a UKIMS approval number, HMRC were very nice to us and kept it nice and simple, and I think it's about 32 digits long is the UKIMS approval number that they will send you either electronically or through the post your authorization. Please let us know your UKIMS number to avoid customs duty. So the rest is just to get you thinking about the information UPS needs for customs clearance. In most cases, this is going to be a no for postponed VAT accounting. It can apply for Northern Ireland, but we're not going to be paying a VAT on your imports into Northern Ireland. Also important, as I mentioned, if you're only shipping GB origin goods or a mixture, UPS will see in the shipping data or on the paper invoice that the goods are GB origin. Then another thing to think about, if your goods are always is always duty free. So if you're sending educational material, it's always books. Well, books are going to be duty free in the tariff and VAT free. So make sure you classify your goods accurately and description of goods so that we can make sure the goods have the correct duty and VAT paid or not paid, as the case may be. If you're going to be claiming duty relief under de minimis state aid rules, and this is where I think the 2 million threshold comes in, where somebody might have got something wrong, probably from the HMRC side, that there is a 2 million threshold over an 18-month or 2-year period, and it's for that shipper with the authorization to let us know that undertaking number so we can put it on the customs declarations, and you have to keep a running total of that revenue. I did ask HMRC what happens if you go over the limit. I don't know. You'll have to ask if you do apply for that, what the restrictions are and what your obligations are regarding that. Also further down, if there's any other customs clearance instructions you need to let us know, please put them there. If we have to contact you or put it in the shipping data, would be very helpful. If we don't already have it on file with your account details, your email ID of who to send the entry documents to for your records, and then nice and easy, name, position, date, sign it. Slight difference if you're a GB shipper. So this is really important bit, which is highlighted in yellow here. Our UPS shipping systems, when they're sending a shipment to Northern Ireland, must have a BT postal code address, which you haven't got because you're based in GB mainland. So you can put in the shipping data, in the sold to as the importer of record, your company business name, and then care of UPS Limited in Mallock in Belfast to get that address. UPS will not be acting as the importer of record for anybody. That's just the limitations on our shipping system. Has to have a BT address. We'll be using obviously your number, your VAT number, your details for customs clearance. So really important, if you've got a paper invoice or pro forma invoice you're raising, then please make sure that it says the care of UPS Limited. Your UPS account number, probably in GB mainland, because we want to know your account number or numbers so we can update your information. And that'll be more complicated if you have different locations. Some customers do have many UPS account numbers. So let us know what account number you're using for shipping to Northern Ireland so that we can update the account. And in most cases, a lot of people to and from the EU today send on a DDP basis. However, from GB to Northern Ireland, because they're both in the UK, your shipper account will probably be the account we will use to match your shipments for any charges to pay. So if you put the account number there, we can make sure that same account is charged any customs fees or charges. So for business to business charges, the usual UPS current tariff will apply. So that might be if there's duty to pay and UPS pays the duty, there might be the UPS disbursement fee. If not, it may well be that just the UPS entry prep fee might apply, but additional tariff lines over 5 might apply, or storage fees if the shipment's on hold and it's not our error. So the usual UPS current tariff applies. Slight difference here, GB EORI. I'll put XI, but probably it's going to be your GB EORI and actually your GB deferment, same UKIMS number, and pretty much the same information that we talked about previously about the instructions and information on the first tab. Last tab is more for information purposes, but good to let us know that all you're going to be shipping is B2C shipments. We did have some examples of shippers in GB sending a private consumer parcel that shouldn't have any charges on, but will be addressed to one of their stores in Northern Ireland for pickup. Where possible, we were telling that particular customer, try and strip out your store name and just leave the private consumer's address and the delivery address of your store, just so that we can make sure it drops into the B2C bucket, which means simplistic electronic bulk manifest clearance. And then we talked about in the infographic just information about the weight limitations, same sort of thing, date, name and sign. It may well be that you might fill out all three tabs, that you might be sending to your business customers in Northern Ireland, and they're going to be the importer of record with their UKIMs, their details. Or it might be that you want it to be seamless to your business customers in Northern Ireland, and you're going to act as the importer of record to take the hassle, the admin, the cost and fees and charges. And you might also be shipping direct to consumers as well. So we have many customers that have various different business models, not just one. And if that's you, then you can complete all three tabs. That's absolutely fine. If you've got any questions, give us a shout. Be prepared. Make sure you spread the word in your organisations. Provide as much information in your shipping data and invoices for UPS to clear your goods accurately and correctly. Fill in the onboarding documents so we have information on file. Clear descriptions and commodity codes so that we don't have any issues. And that's it. You can reach out to our call centre. You can reach out to your friendly UPS sales exec if you encounter any problems. It looks like that's great. You're all going to be ready. Everything is all nice and clear. Thank you very much, and good luck to everybody.